Hey there, welcome back to the athomedive YouTube channel. As always, my name's Joey, and today's gonna be a very special day in the kitchen because we're making chicken parmesan, one of my absolute all-time favorite things to eat. So sit back, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive right in. So the first thing that we're going to start with whenever it comes to the chicken parmesan is the sauce. It's no surprise to you that that's going to be based with 56 ounces of stewed tomatoes. We're also going to add in 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 3 tablespoons of dry oregano, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of celery salt, and 2 teaspoons of black pepper. So essentially we're just going to add these things to the food processor, and then we're going to pulse the tomatoes until they're chopped roughly. That's all we need. Now the sauce is gonna be a little bit chunky, but not smoothly pureed. Now we're gonna bring the sauce up to a simmer and let it cook slowly. We don't wanna cook it all away, we just wanna concentrate the flavors. So next we're gonna start on the breading process. We have 1 cup of Italian breadcrumb, and I have 1 lemon. I'm simply gonna zest the lemon into the breadcrumbs. Now I'm going to take a spoon and mix them together. Once you've mixed the lemon into the breadcrumbs quite well, you can go ahead and set this aside. Next is the flour mixture. That's the first step of the breading. So for this step, we're going to take 1 cup of AP flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. And we're going to add those things right into the flour. And now we're going to take that spoon again and just mix these things together. And again, we can go ahead and set this aside. For the final step of breading, we're going to go ahead and take 2 eggs and beat them with a fork. Once the eggs are well beaten, we're going to go ahead and add in 1/2 cup of milk. And we're also going to beat that in. Alright, it's really that simple. And before we get started, the only other thing we're going to have to make sure we have is 5.5 ounces of grated low moisture mozzarella. I prefer the full milk fat, not the reduced fat mozzarella, and I do prefer to grate this myself. That way it's a little bit more firm and it doesn't have the weird texture coating it. And also, we're going to need 1/2 ounce of grated Parmesan. So, now we have the star of the show, the chicken breast. This is a double breast, so it's the 2 breasts in 1 piece. And I'm just going to split it right down the middle so that we only have to focus on 1 at a time. Now I'm going to take the breast on the tender side. And if you see here, the tenderloin is on the back of the breast. I'm going to go right underneath the top of the breast, and laying my knife flat, I'm going to make a cut all the way through the chicken breast. And essentially, I'm going to make 2 thin cuts out of 1 thick cut of chicken breast. So now, as you can see, I have this and this. And now I'm going to repeat the process with the other side as well. Now I'm going to take plastic wrap and cover the counter. So now this is our workspace. And it's sealed, it's clean, and we don't have to worry about chicken splattering everywhere. So I'm going to take the chicken and I'm going to lay them out right in the middle of this piece of plastic. Then I'm going to take the plastic wrap and I'm going to fold it over. Now, you need to take something heavy. I prefer a rolling pin. You can use a small pan, works quite well also. So we're just gonna go ahead and slightly pound out the chicken breasts. I like to go forward with a down motion or out with a down motion to try to stretch the chicken breast so that it thins out and covers more space. Now that these have been pounded out, as you can see, they take up about twice as much space, and not only does that mean we can fit twice as much cheese on there, but the protein strands are broken all inside here. So now the chicken really can't be tough, which is exactly what we're going for. We want thin, soft chicken cutlets. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this last one, and then we can move on. Now we return with all the things that we're going to use to bread the chicken. But since the chicken won't fit in these small bowls, I'm going to go and transfer them into something larger that the chicken will fit into, so that way we can coat it nice and evenly. So now we return with our chicken and somewhere to rest the chicken after we bread it. We're gonna start by placing it into the flour mixture, and with one hand that I'm gonna keep dry, I'm gonna coat flour all over the chicken. I'm gonna lift the chicken and shake off the excess before I place it right into the egg wash. The egg wash is gonna soak into the flour as we coat this and fully submerge it, and that's gonna make the breadcrumbs stick. I am gonna let the excess egg wash drain off or shake it off before I put the chicken into the breadcrumb mixture. And again, I'm keeping one hand dry and one hand wet. It will keep you from having giant fingers that are coated in a bunch of breading. Once coated nicely in the breadcrumbs, I'm gonna shake off the excess breadcrumbs yet again and transfer this to a clean tray on the side. Now I'm gonna repeat the process with the remaining 3 chicken breasts.
One minute, 37 seconds later.
Alright, so now we have our large pan here, and we're gonna go ahead and turn that on medium. And I'm gonna go ahead and add in just enough oil to cover the bottom of the pan well. We need to make sure that it comes about halfway up the sides of the cutlet, but we don't need to deep fry it. That's really just quite excessive. So we can always add a little bit more as we go, but this is gonna be a good place for us to start. So we're gonna let this warm up and we'll be right back to dropping the cutlets. So we're gonna fry the cutlets 2 at a time, and we're gonna lay them into the oil away from us. As you can see here, we have a very mild reaction. There are slight bubbles around the pan, but it's not going crazy. That's how we know that our oil is not too hot, although you do want to make sure it has some bubbles to it, because if not, then it's just going to soak up the oil. After a couple of minutes, you may see them start to begin to brown around the edges. That's a good sign that you know that you're getting close to what you want, because you want golden brown and fried. So if you can see here, we're just going to take and flip them. And now we're almost done. We just want to make sure they get nice and crispy on the other side. As you can see here though, we have a nice crust and it's got a good firm texture to it if you touch it and poke it. So that's exactly what we're looking for on both sides. Once these have been flipped over on the second side for a minute, feel free to scoop one up and take a look and see if the bottom's crispy as well. If the bottom looks good, feel free to take a clean tray that you can put in the oven and go ahead and scoop these up, and we can move on to the next set. While the cutlets are cooking, it's a great time to go ahead and start boiling water for your pasta.
A few moments later.
Here are our beautiful fried cutlets. And I'm gonna go ahead and take my boiling water and add my pasta to it. I'm cooking spaghetti that's totally dry, just straight off the grocery store shelf. And as soon as this starts to cook, I'll get it submerged the rest of the way into the water. But for now, let's focus on these. So now we have our sauce, and as you can see here, it's quite a bit thicker and it has a lot more of a rich note to it. I'm gonna go through and just add a few spoonfuls of sauce to the tops of the cutlets, and that's gonna coat them quite well and give us a place to land our cheese. I do like to place the sauce down and then push it to the outsides. That way we get a nice coating. Now comes the fun part. I'm gonna go ahead and divide the mozzarella cheese over the 4 cutlets. I like to spread it out and get good coverage. That way every bite has plenty of cheese in it. Now I'm gonna follow with the grated Parmesan. I like to just give them a good dusting all over. And as you can see here, these have a nice coating of sauce and cheese. Now we're ready to go into the oven on broil on high. And we only need to brown these because the chicken's already likely fully cooked. Meanwhile, it never hurts to check back on your pasta. My pasta is almost done, and it's looking like it'll be done around the same time as the cutlets. Alright, so as you can see here, we do have nice browned cheese on top. We have crispy edges on the sides. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna drain the spaghetti because it's finished, and then we'll be right back. So with our spaghetti drained and our sauce here nice and hot, we're gonna go ahead and just combine the two. So here's your spaghetti and your chicken Parmesan. Let's go ahead and plate these up so we can see what they look like. So here we have our spaghetti coated in a rich tomato sauce. our chicken with crispy edges and nicely browned cheese on top. So it's time to dig in. All right, well that wraps us up on how to make chicken parmesan. Comment below and let me know how yours turns out. If you like the video, be sure to share it with your friends. Have a great day.